Let's dig into this big story that I think broke yesterday, and according at least to reporting, that Starbucks is said to be considering and looking at options for its Chinese assets, its operations there, including maybe the possibility of selling a stake in the business. Now, sources say the firm is speaking with advisors about these plans in China and those growth options there. Let's bring in Shuli Ren, our Bloomberg Opinion columnist, here with us. And, Shuli, I think we've had a conversation months ago about the Luckin model and how that's worked, and this is just an example maybe of the challenges that Starbucks and others might be running into right now in this Chinese market.
Yes, absolutely. The difference between Starbucks and the battle actually between Starbucks and Luckin is basically the difference between using coffee as an expression of individualism, which Starbucks is doing, versus a streamlined supply chain, which Luckin is doing. The problem with Starbucks in China is that, Starbucks offers too many options, right? Like the syrup, the toppings, how much coffee, how many espresso shots you want in your Frappuccino. But Chinese coffee drinkers are not that sophisticated yet, and they don't really appreciate the variation and differentiation. And if they really want to express themselves individually, they go for the milk tea chains. I mean, China has so many milk tea, Chachi, this and that, right? So like Starbucks is kind of stuck in the middle. Like its flagship offering is not being appreciated by Chinese, and on the other hand, it's way more expensive than Luckin or Luckin's new competitor, Coty Coffee.
Okay, let's assume then that Starbucks does decide to take on something more drastic with the operations. How might that look, the Starbucks operations in China?
Perhaps it can sell to a private equity firm,
right.
And that that has been the option, right? And that private equity firm could in turn adopt a so-called franchise model, and that's how the Chinese coffee chains and the milk tea makers are growing. They basically say, okay, all the young people, they don't have jobs, let me franchise a store to you and you run it. And that perhaps will do a little bit better. There could be strategic buyouts, but I think it would be hard.
Okay.
What's sort of the perception of Starbucks in China today? Because you've covered as well just how many startups we've seen. It's not just Luckin in this space. It's becoming a very crowded market. Do you think that the new CEO of Starbucks also has sort of that level of experience and know-how of the Chinese market as well as Brian Niccol, who just took over the leadership post a few months back?
Brian Niccol is very well respected, but he doesn't really have any international experience. So I don't know how whether he sees the consumer preferences between Chinese and Americans. But I think Chinese consumers, especially, like people in higher tier cities, like young, trendy, hippie people, they do appreciate Starbucks because Starbucks does allow you to hang out all day just over one drink, right? But mostly people are kind of busy. If they want to have a quick caffeinated shot, they will go to Luckin, and it's much cheaper, 990 yuan versus Starbucks, I don't know, 40 yuan. And then some young people, they actually prefer milk tea. They don't want to be so caffeinated all the time. So it could be hard for Starbucks.